Imagine a dawn breaking over narrow waters where the radar of a nuclear-powered American aircraft carrier detects a dozen small red dots moving far too fast for any fishing boat. These are the shadows of tension, creeping through the morning mist, ready to challenge the world's most powerful fleet. Subscribe for more deep ocean mysteries grounded in real science and history. Behind advanced binoculars, a young sailor with hands hovering over a heavy machine gun trigger watches the waves split apart. Iranian Revolutionary Guard fast boats approach like a pack of hungry sharks, coming within mere meters of a billion-dollar steel hull, creating a terrifying dance of mechanical and political ego. This is the deadly game played almost weekly in the Strait of Hormuz, a geopolitical cat-and-mouse chase where one communication error or an accidental trigger pull could ignite a global conflict in minutes. The air is thick with the smell of diesel and the invisible weight of impending war. On one side stands a Western hegemonic power desperate to ensure the world's energy veins remain open and flowing. On the other, Iranian sovereignty feels it is merely guarding its own backyard from armed intruders. Both sides stare through iron sights, waiting for the other to make a fatal mistake. Yet what makes the world tremble is not just the muzzles of cannons, but the chilling fact that beneath these soldiers' feet lies a 33-kilometer waterway carrying the very lifeblood of modern civilization. Without this narrow passage, the gears of the global economy would grind to a sudden violent halt. If this strait is choked by warships or sea mines, the heartbeat of global finance will stop instantly. The New York Stock Exchange would collapse, and a literal darkness would begin to shroud major cities across Asia and Europe as fuel reserves vanish and power grids fail under the pressure. This is not merely a territorial dispute. It is the most extreme choke point on planet Earth, where narrow geography meets soaring political pride. It is a place where nature's constraints dictate the fate of empires, forcing modern technology to bow before the ancient, jagged cliffs of the Persian Gulf. Visualize a massive supertanker, 3 football fields long, crawling slowly through this passage, squeezed between the threat of land-to-sea missiles and provocative maneuvers by fast boats swarming like ants around an elephant. The captain's nerves are frayed, knowing his cargo could turn into a catastrophic inferno with one spark. In Hormuz, the calmness of the water is only a mask for the intense electromagnetic tension filling the air. Thousands of sensors, satellites, and underwater intelligence units are locked in a silent struggle, watching every ripple and frequency, waiting to see which side will be the first to finally blink. Welcome to the Strait of Hormuz, a stage where the economic apocalypse of the world is only one fire command away from a field commander losing his patience. It is the most dangerous theater on Earth, where the script of history is written in oil, blood, and cold steel. Why is this small sliver of water at the edge of the Persian Gulf so vital? The answer is written in barren stones and a bloody history spanning thousands of years. Geologically, it was formed by the colossal collision of the Arabian and Eurasian plates, creating the sharp, haunting Lusandam fjords. Since ancient times, rulers have known, whoever holds the key to Hormuz holds the key to the entire world's wealth. In the 15th century, the kingdom of Hormuz was the brightest jewel in the east, where Chinese silks met Indian peppers and Arabian frankincense in a bustling golden marketplace. The city was so wealthy that the legendary traveler Marco Polo was stunned by the magnificence of trade on this dry, rocky island. He described a place of incredible luxury where merchants from across the globe gathered to exchange fortunes, turning a barren rock into a legendary center of human commerce. But such immense wealth always invites wolves. The Portuguese arrived with thunderous cannons in 1507, slaughtering locals and building stone fortresses. The ruins of these bastions still stare coldly at the sea today, haunting reminders of the high price men paid to control the world's most strategic gate. They sought to monopolize spices, turning the strait into a suffocating tax gate for anyone wishing to pass toward the east. The Portuguese dominance marked the first time Hormuz was used as a geopolitical weapon, a strategy that has only grown more complex and dangerous in our modern industrial age. Centuries later, the global interest shifted from aromatic spices to a much thicker and darker resource, crude oil. The geography of Hormuz became a double-edged sword. The deepest navigable channel for giant tankers lies perilously close to the rugged, mountainous Iranian coastline, creating a natural trap for modern shipping. This is nature's perfect ambush point, a narrow corridor where steel giants weighing 500,000 tons are at the mercy of whoever holds the cliffs above. The sheer vulnerability of these massive vessels is staggering, as they move through a space where there is absolutely no room for error or escape. Every rock and crevice along the shoreline has witnessed the rise and fall of empires that tried to tame these waters. From the British Empire to the modern superpowers, the obsession remains the same, ensuring that the flow of resources never stops, regardless of the political cost or military sacrifice. Geopolitics here is dictated by the hard reality of bathymetry and coastal artillery. If you control the heights, you control the flow. Iran's Zagros Mountains provide a natural, impenetrable fortress from which they can observe every single move made by the massive tankers and the foreign warships that escort them. The ancient ghosts of traders and conquerors seem to linger in the humid air of the strait, watching the new masters of the world struggle with the same narrow passage. The technology has changed from sails to nuclear reactors, but the fundamental struggle for control remains as primitive as ever. Entering the modern era, tension in Hormuz is no longer just physical. It is a war of systems and frequencies. Within this glass labyrinth, every vessel broadcasts its identity through the automatic identification system, providing real-time data to satellites orbiting high above the Earth, tracking every movement with digital precision. Yet beneath the surface of the radar, dark operations take place where ghost ships turn off their signals to smuggle oil. These vessels disappear from the digital map, slipping through the darkness of night to bypass international sanctions, creating a clandestine economy that fuels the shadows of the global market. In dark intelligence rooms, hackers and military analysts play a high-stakes game of strategy, trying to track these mysterious dots. They use artificial intelligence and thermal imaging to pierce the veil of deception, knowing that each hidden ship represents a hole in the carefully constructed wall of global political pressure. Recall the tanker war of the 1980s, when the sea literally burned and naval mines floated freely, hitting anything that dared pass. During that chaotic time, the world realized how fragile its supply chain truly was. Oil tankers required massive military convoys just to keep the lights on in Tokyo. The threat of sea mines remains the most terrifying nightmare in Hormuz today because a cheap weapon can cripple a vessel. For a few $1,000s, a simple mine can cause billions in damage and trigger an environmental catastrophe, proving that in this strait, low-tech weapons can defeat high-tech giants. On the other side, Iran has developed cruise missile technology specifically designed to strike moving targets within this narrow strait from hidden mountain bunkers. These silent sentinels are tucked away in the Zagros range, ready to launch at a moment's notice, turning the entire coast into a lethal battery. Conversely, Western fleets deploy the most advanced air defense umbrellas, creating a protective bubble of Aegis systems ready to intercept anything that flies. The sky above Hormuz is a crowded highway of invisible radio waves, electronic jamming, and predator drones, all watching for the slightest sign of hostile intent. This is the purest form of military stalemate, a Gordian knot that cannot be untied, only cut with risks that are truly unimaginable. Every commander on every bridge knows that a single miscalculation in this digital fog could spark a chain reaction that would burn through the global economy's fabric. Even the deep waters are not silent. Submarines from various nations glide like ghosts beneath the hulls of massive tankers, playing a silent game. They listen to the heartbeat of the world, mapping the seafloor for mines and monitoring the acoustic signatures of every potential enemy that crosses the line. The glass labyrinth is a place where transparency is a weapon and shadows are a shield, where everyone sees everything yet understands nothing. It is the ultimate test of nerves for the modern sailor, navigating through a minefield of technology and human pride in the world's most crowded waterway. Behind all these war games, there's a pulse of life that continues in a way that seems almost completely impossible. Imagine a local fisherman in his small wooden dhow, trying to pull his nets under the literal shadow of a 10-story oil tanker. He is caught between two worlds. To him, the deafening sonar pings of passing warships are a daily nuisance rather than a breaking news story on a television screen. He has seen the empires come and go, yet his sea remains the same, providing a meager living while billions of dollars in cargo sail right past. The strait is also home to a unique ecosystem. Bottlenose dolphins and green turtles swim through one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. They must navigate through the constant roar of massive propellers and the toxic residue of industrial giants, surviving in a habitat that has become a highway. However, the constant oil leaks and acoustic pollution create immense pressure for these creatures who do not understand national interests or geopolitics. They are the silent victims of our global thirst for energy, trapped in a narrow corridor where nature and heavy industry collide with every single passing tide. We must also look at the faces of the sailors aboard the tanker's men from the Philippines, India, or Ukraine serving on floating bombs. They cross Hormuz with hearts pounding, knowing that if a conflict erupts, they are on the most unprotected front line of a very modern, brutal war. The silent Musandam fjords of Oman hide this sharp contrast. A diver's paradise exists just a few miles away from a high-alert military base. It is a place of haunting beauty where the turquoise water meets jagged cliffs, masking the lethal hardware that waits just over the horizon's edge. The lack of water on land and the incredible wealth at sea create a strange paradox for the people living along these shores. While the world watches the flow of oil, the locals worry about the flow of fresh water, a resource far more precious than the black gold beneath. Here, water is life, yet the world only cares about what flows inside the steel hulls of the massive ships passing through. This disconnect between global demand and local reality defines the daily struggle of those who call the shores of the Strait of Hormuz their only permanent home. The ancient ruins of trading posts still dot the coastline, reminding us that commerce has always been a dangerous game in these waters. From the Silk Road to the oil route, the risks have changed their form, but have never truly diminished in their potential for total global disaster. In the end, Hormuz is a mirror reflecting our own civilization's dependency and desperation, a place where we see our true reflection. It is a fragile link in a chain that spans the entire globe, holding together the delicate balance of our modern, high-speed, and energy-hungry way of living. What would happen if Hormuz were actually closed tomorrow? Economic simulations suggest oil prices could soar to $200 per barrel within days. Global transportation would collapse, food prices would skyrocket, and civil unrest could erupt in every nation that depends on imported energy to feed its hungry people. Hormuz is a stark reminder that our glittering digital civilization is actually built upon a very physical, very fragile foundation of ancient rock. We live in a world of high-speed internet and space travel, yet we are still held hostage by a narrow strip of water in the desert. Even as the world moves toward renewable energy, the strategic role of Hormuz will not simply fade away into the history books. It will remain a crucial logistical artery for global trade between the East and the West, carrying the materials needed to build the green future we all desire. The future of this strait will be determined not by the power of cannons, but by the wisdom of leaders to exercise restraint. It is a test of human maturity, a challenge to manage the greed and fear that have driven conflict in this narrow passage for over 2 millennia. The sun now begins to set over the horizon of Hormuz, casting a deep orange glow that reflects off the secretive water. We see the last tanker of the day slowly disappearing into the mist, carrying a cargo that will power thousands of machines on the other side of Earth. Geography is destiny, and the destiny of Hormuz is to be both a bridge and an abyss between two suspicious worlds. It is a place where the ghosts of the past meet the fears of the future, creating a tension that is as constant as the rising and falling tides. In the final analysis, Hormuz is not just about maps or economic numbers. It is a profound test of our collective human spirit. It asks us how we will share the world's most vital resources without destroying the very planet that provides them in such a limited, narrow space. The story of Hormuz never truly ends. It is rewritten every time a tanker cuts through its waves, carrying both hope and anxiety. It remains the world's most dangerous heartbeat, a pulse that we must protect. For if it stops, the world as we know it will surely die with it.